Hello, Laziali all over the world. What do you think about the new Lazio shirt? I think it's amazing. Probably one of the best in the last couple of years or so. I think Mitsuno did a great job. Right, Alistair? Do you agree with me? You were there at Piazza del Popolo, right? So you can
Yeah,
see it.
I was there, but I'm getting a better view of the shirt right now looking at you through a video than I did on at Piazza del Popolo, I would say. But yeah, I mean, you're a natural model as well. So I think that obviously whatever you're wearing is going to look good, Vittorio. But no, I love it. I think the home shirt especially has gone down pretty much universally well. I think almost everyone seems to like it. The away shirt, obviously, a bit more jazzy, a bit more out there. But my favorite part of the night was probably they started with the goalkeepers, and there was a bit of a buzz around the piazza where everyone's like, "Oh, are they gonna somehow be bringing out like a new keeper, surprising the here?" And I was like, "Welcome to the stage, Marius Adamonis," and there he was, because there's no one else left. So it's probably the biggest kind of contribution Adamonis has made to Lazio in years was modeling the new goalkeeper shirt, sadly.
Well, Pepe Reina last year said that he's improved a lot. He's going to be a surprise. So maybe we don't know. He's the next Lazio goalkeeper.
Hope so.
Talking about the other shirt, I have to say my daughter loved them. I had to buy the black one to them. So maybe for the kids, they prefer the away shirt. But yeah, this is, I mean, the eagle all over. It's amazing. And I have to say, I saw even the training top. That's very nice again. I think Mitsuno did an unbelievable job. I think a lot of people were concerned about Mitsuno, as I don't know. Cittadella probably had Mitsuno last year, and the shirt wasn't great. But I mean, the job they did with Lazio was amazing.
Sorry, and also the event. I mean, the last 4 years I've been in Rome, there's never been anything like that. There was an event when they opened the new shop in the city centre, but it wasn't nearly the same scale as that. It was a great night. It was like 2 hours. Piazza was packed with fans. They had all sorts of. It was a little bit like a UEFA group stage draw. Like it took about an hour before they actually, gave you what you were there to see. But it was great to have an event like that for Lazio fans, dedicated to Lazio fans in the centre of Rome. It's a bit of a novelty, to be honest. That's organised by the club and not by the fans themselves, that is, because obviously there are the birthday parties and stuff like that, but that's all fan organised.
Okay, the bad thing is it wasn't streamed on social media, and Lazio has a TV channel, and it wasn't live on a TV channel. I mean, you organize an event and you don't broadcast it live. How bad is that? I mean, I couldn't believe it. On Lazio channel, on Lazio style channel, they were broadcasting Juventus Lazio, the match, the last match of the season when we equalized at the last minute, wasn't that? And instead of broadcasting the live event of the new Lazio shirt, I mean that's embarrassing.
Baby steps, Vittorio. baby steps towards being a serious club.
But Alistair, probably the most important event of that day was what happened afterwards. The presentation, right? The discussion between Lotito and Tare. I know you were there and you participated to that. So do you want to tell us what happened?
I was holding them apart like this, throwing punches. No, I mean, obviously the front. So they basically kind of fenced off the front. There was the stage, and then there was the seated area, which is where all the players were sitting, and their kind of families, and Lotito and Tare were there as well. And being there obviously live, it's very difficult to get a sense of any of this kind of stuff that's going on. So everyone was kind of refreshing their phones to hear about what was actually happening. But yeah, there's supposedly a very heated discussion between Lotito and Tare at this event, which seems kind of crazy. But, let's not forget, when was it? A couple of years ago, when there was somebody took that recording of Lotito screaming at Inzaghi down his phone and shouting at him. So I think, in my mind, it's not that unusual for heated discussions to happen around Lotito. But yeah, then Lazio quickly pounced by bringing out an official club statement to deny that there's any issues going on between the two of them, which is funny. We were just laughing about this before coming on because they haven't issued a statement about, Stefan Radu's contract extension or even kind of new signings. It takes a while, but they will immediately pounce when there's a newspaper article they don't like. So yeah, much ado about nothing, really.
And the funniest thing about that was all the press release was about this discussion. And the last line was, oh, by the way, we announced that Fabiani is the new responsible of Primavera and our women's section. I mean, that's embarrassing. That's simply Lazio style press release, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm hoping, we'll get some sort of press release, like gently nudging us now towards transfer market. I think we'll hopefully get press releases soon about Gila, about Casale, because they're both here, Vittorio. It's been a hell of a week, hasn't it? I mean, do you want to start? I know you've got an update for us on another story.
Yeah, well, Alessio Romagnoli is the main story at the moment because, I mean, how long is it? It's 1 month or more that Lazio and Romagnoli are talking. And this morning, Radio 6, that it's a very popular radio station here in Rome, said that it's done. They found the deal, Romagnoli signed the contract, blah, 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 and things like that. So I contacted my friend Gianluigi Longari, that it's the transfer market expert of Sport Italia, Sport Italian TV channel. And he told me that, no, it's not done. Basically, Lazio increased the offer this last night. And Romagnoli said, well, I will think about it. Maybe he's going to reply today, maybe Saturday, maybe Monday. We don't know. But yes, Lazio made a further step forward. And we hope this is going to be the final one, the one that will convince Alessio Romagnoli. But there's even one thing to say, Alistair, is that the longer it's take, the more complicated it gets. Because Romagnoli has an offer, 4 million euros, which is much higher than the offer Lazio's made from Fulham. And, Sarri need his central defender as soon as possible to get used to Sarri movement that are different compared to the Pioli one. So the longer it takes, the more complicated it gets for Lazio. As you were mentioning, Casale's done. Gila, we have a mystery because he started the medicals and then they were interrupted. It looks like he got COVID, by the way. So he won't be able to reach Alonso very soon. Marcos Antonio is another player that we signed, but didn't reach Alonso because he need to feel some things because he's not in the EU. So he need to get paperwork to be able to sign the contract for a EU team. So yeah, a lot of things to do. And let's hope that Romagnoli decide as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's good it's good on the one hand to hear that Lazio are actually willing to increase that offer finally, because I think that's something that's been a little bit frustrating from reading the reports so far, is that it seems like an obvious thing for them to do, an obvious compromise to make. So that's good, but obviously frustrating if it's not quite as close as we're constantly being told it is. I mean, it seems like every day there's a news story saying that Romagnoli is done and he's a Lazio player. So clearly still isn't. That said, Vittorio, 3 centre backs, if they can get that one over the line, is a great get. But I would say because in my mind, Gila and Casale, it's not actually enough for me. I know that might sound quite demanding, but because I did say at the start of the transfer market I wanted 2 centre-backs, and they are 2 centre-backs. But I think you do need one like Romagnoli who you feel comfortable coming in to be your starting centre-back in a way that neither of those guys quite are. I think Casale will be a starting centre-back, but it's not a certainty. He's a promising young player. He had a decent season at Verona. But we are talking about different things when it's a player like Romagnoli, the experience he's got, compared to a guy like Casale, in terms of the certainty you're going to get from these players.
I think Gila is going to be a bench player. Is going to get depth to that position, but I would be very surprised if he starts, especially in the first 2 3 months. He needs time to adapt to Italian football that is completely different to the Spanish one. Let's not forget that he plays something like 25 minutes in La Liga, so it's not that you're getting an experienced player. He's very young. Real Madrid, especially Raúl, was highly regarded. Thought the player had talent, so we're gonna see. But I mean, Casale will fight with Patrick for the starting job, I think, while Romagnoli should be the starter. So yes, we got two players, but we need other level player, and we don't have a goalkeeper, which I think is an important role, right? Starting without a goalkeeper, it's not ideal.
No, especially now that we're into day 3 in Alonso. So yeah, pre-season's properly underway now. I think it has been good, the fact that Lazio have been able to get in 4 players as it stands so early, but none of them are actually in Alonso. Actually, Cancellieri is, isn't he? But
Yes.
but it's still kind of. I was looking at the kind of training updates today, and they were talking about how Sarri is working with the defense, and there's hardly anyone there to work with at the moment. So I'm not sure why he's choosing this early point to be focusing so much on that if we don't have 3 of our centre backs or any of our goalkeepers actually present yet. So we'll see how that goes. But if that is the 4, Romagnoli, Casale, Gila, and Patrick, are you happy with that? I mean, presumably, this is assuming that that Acerbi would then be on the way out if 3 new guys come in.
Why you forgot about Kamenovic?
Kamenovic, yeah, Radu as well. But I would see them probably behind the other 4 in the pecking order as it is.
I think Rado will move as left back because I don't think we're going to sign other players. And Kamenovic has a huge chance because he's pretty much the only central defender available now. So, I think he's going to have a chance to prove everything he has, especially in the first friendly matches. Because, I mean, Gila, I don't know when he's going to be available. Casale, he's doing the medicals today, so I think tomorrow will be there. So, I mean... there are some Primavera, a De Agbo that could play there, etc. But I think Kamenovic has a huge chance to impress Sarri in the first couple of weeks of Alonso. So that's going to be an interesting point. But yeah, I mean, we signed Marcos Antonio. He's not there. Casale will get there. Gila should have been there. We're not very lucky, right, Alistair? We have Cancellieri, who seemed very promising, though. He has been... on the verge in these first training days in Alonso.
Yeah, and I guess the other thing as well is that Patrick has signed a new deal for 5 years. Now, that took me by surprise. It didn't take me by surprise at all that they're giving him a new contract. I'm glad they have, for reasons I've mentioned many times before. But 5 years? Did you see that coming? Do you think this is just to protect the possibility of losing someone on a free, or is this Sarri saying this is my man and look at the improvements he's made? Or 5 years is a lot.
I think that Iglitare has just a copy of contracts, and in that copy there is 5 years, because every player we sign, even Murici, we sign in 5 years of contract. Vavro, 5 years of every player we sign. I think Tare should get another copy of contract where it's 2 years, 3 years, something like that. No, all 5 years. I mean, we don't have alternative. That's the copy we have, and he just have to put the name of the player, the date of birth, etc., and it's done. But yeah, I mean, he's still young, so you could understand 5 years makes sense. But yeah, 3 years I would be happy. Instead 5, it's a little bit too much, because then what happened with Sherby? We extended his contract for 5 years again, and he's going to be 37 when it's going to expire. And I mean, it's complicated now to get rid of that player, right? He has a huge salary, especially for Lazio style, a long contract. So, rumors are he had some discussion with Sarri last year. So we have to get rid of him, and it's not going to be easy with that type of contract.
Yeah, and you would have thought they might have learned by now. I mean, it was. Look, I am happy. Just had a comment here from AP saying Patrick was great last season, and he was. And we've said already he was the best defender last season, which is kind of amazing. But so I am glad he's staying. It's more that if all these other centre backs are coming in, Patrick's place in the hierarchy is going to drop. He's not going to be an automatic first choice starter next season. If we've got all these new guys, you would assume. So what we don't want to end up in is a situation in the future, which Lazio constantly end up in, where we have all these players that basically aren't being used, but we're not able to find new clubs to sign them. And I hope that doesn't happen with Patrick. I hope this improvement continues. I hope he continues to be as useful as he was last season. But I think that's the one risk, isn't it, with the 5-year deal, is that you don't know what things are going to look like in 2 or 3 years. So what's the... 3 years is still quite a long time. I think that's a reasonable kind of contract length to go for. But I mean, if you look at the kind of players who have left this summer, for example, Jordan Lukaku has taken this long. It's been clear for a long time that Jordan Lukaku isn't a Lazio player, and it's taken this long for him to actually leave the club and end his contract because of the length of deal he was on. So, yeah, I am happy Patrick's staying. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I was surprised. It was quite that long. Should we talk goalkeepers, though? We had a comment there about Maximiano, who's like a completely new name who's suddenly emerged after our conversations last time.
Well, we talk about Adamonis. He's the goalkeeper, right? Adamonis, Alia, Furlanetto. That's the trio we have at the moment. Well, yes, it looks like Atalanta hates us. And even though Carnesecchi wanted to go to Lazio, they didn't lower the request, which is 20 million euros. Which I think, honestly, it's a little bit too high for a goalkeeper who never played in Serie A. Massive talent, but anything can happen. He's injured, so he's probably out till January. So I thought that was too expensive. And Lazio decided to turn and look for other option. It looks like in the weekend, Vicario was done, and then suddenly they moved to Maximiano, who is the goalkeeper of Granada, who got relegated because Mallorca of Murici was saved, while Granada got relegated. I don't know him very well. He looks like a decent goalkeeper, but I don't know. He's young. He's 23, but he didn't play in the under 21, the Portuguese under 21. He was on the bench. He hasn't been called in the national team where Rui Patricio starts. So we have to admit that he's not the sub of, I don't know, Donnarumma or Neuer. So that concerned me a little bit.
Yeah, in my mind, and maybe it's just the unfamiliarity with the player, but in my mind, it felt like a bit of a step down from the excitement that we felt at the likes of Carnesecchi or Vicario. But that is probably because we've not watched him play. I mean, he has... from just the most basic of research and like looking at Wikipedia and transfer market pages and things, it does seem like he's essentially had one season in La Liga and kind of half a season playing for Sporting as his kind of experience as being a first choice keeper. So yeah, 23 years old. He is clearly very talented and highly rated because he's played with Portugal through all the youth levels, I think from kind of under 15s upwards. And, these aren't small clubs he's been playing with. It's been a very good level he's been playing at. But yeah, it seems like a bit more of an unknown, and in my mind, a little bit more of a gamble than it was for Vicario or for Carnesecchi, just because we understood and we kind of knew where we're coming from and their place in Italian football and their readiness for becoming a first choice goalkeeper in a Serie A team. And also, we should mention, actually, how unlucky we were in our last podcast that we were just talking about Pepe Reina's Lazio future, and then I think 5-10 minutes after we finished recording, they announced he was off. So there you go.
Probably he listened to us and said, "No, guys, I cannot do it," and left. Answering to AP, I think one of the reasons why we are trying to sign Maximiano is he's good with his ball on his feet. He's quite good, like a lot of Portuguese goalkeeper in playing with his ball, with the ball. So I think that's one of the options why he has been preferred to Vicario. And I think Lazio is convinced it's going to cost less than getting Vicario, because Empoli is asking 50 million euros, which it's a lot of money, especially for Lazio. So I think Tari is convinced that he can get Maximiano for less than 10 million. So we're going to see what happens. But Alistair, we have to talk about Vavro and Murici, because that's good business, right? We were able finally to get rid of two expensive players, two players that didn't work out absolutely with Lazio. And, it was tough to get rid of them, but we finally did it. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at Vavro's Lazio career, comes in as, I think, the most expensive defender in club history after Mihailovic and Stam. Barely plays, goes on loan, says he hates Lazio in a video, and leaves. So I don't think there'll be many people crying. What did I forget?
He apologized afterwards, saying that he's stupid. Lazio is a too big club for me, he said. Which makes sense.
Where's the fun in showing both sides of the argument? No, but I think it didn't work out for him for a lot of reasons. I'm still not convinced he's a terrible player. I just think it was wrong place at the wrong time. He didn't really fit in with what Lazio were trying to do with the coaches he was playing for, and he lost confidence after a while as well, which is fair enough. So, yeah, I think him going is good. It had to happen. We were starting to get worried that he would end up being frozen out or something like that, and so that's great. Murici, Vittorio, I don't want to tempt fate by talking about that too much, but he is in Belgium, isn't he?
Yes, he's there. So I mean, crossing fingers, this time will happen. Can I say something about Murici? It didn't work out, but as a man, he earns my respect. He said, he's going there. He said, Lazio I have 3 years of contract with Lazio. Lazio has a more power than me, and if they send me there, then I'll go. He never said something wrong about the club and the team and the player. So again, he did pretty well at Mallorca. I thought he would have stayed there. And I think in the right club, he will shine. So I think in Club Brugge, he will, if he signs, obviously, I think he will have success there. And I hope for him, because he's a nice bloke.
Yeah, definitely. Although I did find it a little bit funny, his kind of goodbye message to Mallorca, which was very nice. But he said something like, "My heart will always be red and white," or whatever their colors are. And I was like, you've been there on loan for 6 months, so you can't start saying your heart are the colors of the shirt. It's a bit too much. But
well,
yeah.
they adore him, right? Every time, I was impressed. The social media account of Mallorca was tweeting every single day about Murici. The fan loved him. So that's why I was surprised that they didn't keep it.
But it was the same in Fenerbahce, right? I mean, he has been massively popular at the rest of his clubs apart from Lazio. And actually, but he's not like you're saying, he's not unpopular at Lazio as a person or as a character. He was just not good enough. That's all it came down to. And like Vavro, not necessarily not good enough as a footballer, but certainly not good enough as the kind of player that Lazio need. And that all comes back to Tari and the mistakes he's made, because that should have been identified. That was kind of clear before. Vici Immobile shouldn't be a huge target man, because we don't play a style of football where they're throwing crosses into the box all the time, which is when, to be fair, Murici looked great, was a couple of times when he was able to challenge for aerial balls and hold the ball up and so on. And likewise, Vavro, we don't need this big, brawny, muscular, tall centre back, because Inzaghi wasn't able to really use him in a back three. And then by the time Sarri arrived, his confidence was gone because whenever he tried to use him on the right side of that back three, it didn't work. And he was too slow and not great enough with his feet or whatever. So, yeah, I don't think it's these players' fault that it's not happened. I think it's actually Tari's fault and Lazio's fault for choosing them in the first place when they were kind of, square pegs and round holes kind of thing.
The funny thing about Vavro is that the last match he started for Lazio, I thought he was his best. You remember Genoa Lazio, he played because Acerbi got injured in the warming up. And I thought it was his best performance. And I thought, wow, this could be the turning point. Instead, he never played again. That was simply incredible. So, yeah. But Alistair, we still have Durmisi, Johnny, Javan Anderson. I mean, we still have plenty of players to get rid of. And none of these have been called for the Avronso training. King has been called. He's been linked with Bologna and Venezia. I hope we get rid of him as soon as possible. Do you think that now that we sold Murici, we're going to sign Avice Immobile, or do you think Cancellieri is that player?
I hope we are, because I don't think Cancellieri is that player. No, he's not a striker. He's a winger. And I've had enough of just endlessly signing wingers and playing them in the wrong positions, which seems to be what we're doing, whether it's with Johnny, who is signed as a winger and then played as a wing-back, or then it's Cabral, who's a winger and is signed to play as a striker. No, just sign a striker. I know strikers are expensive. I know it's difficult to sell this role to any player as well, because you're saying, hey, here's one of our legendary best ever strikers, and you're going to be his number 2, so you're hardly going to play. It's not an easy sell, but there are definitely options out there. And Ciro, being the age he is, he's not going to last forever. So I think you can sell it to a younger player, perhaps. I think we do need that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been good that the moves are being made and things are happening, but there is definitely still an absence of Avice Immobile and obviously 2 goalkeepers and a left back. So it feels like a lot has happened, but there's actually still quite a lot that still needs to happen.
Well, we said it, right? AP, before I forget, Lazio channel do the highlights and show the live session of the Alonso training. So I don't know if abroad you're able to see it, but yeah, that's the only way you can do it. What did I want to say? Yeah, Alice, we said, right, Lazio needed to sign 7-8 players this summer. So the fact that we signed, 4? It's a good sign, but the job is not done. The other thing you were mentioning, that being the Vice Immobile means you don't play a lot. I think we said it already last week in the last podcast. This year is going to be completely different, especially from August to September. Lazio is going to play every single time, every 3 days a week. There's the season starting, Campionato, then September, the Europa League starts. There's a couple of 3-4 matches, Serie A matches on Wednesday. So I think Sarri will need to rotate a lot of players. One thing that came out is that Sarri asked 2 players for position. I would be amazing if that happened, but it looks like Lazio is trying to do that, right? We have Marcos Antonio and Cataldi for the playmaker position. We have Luis Alberto and Basic, Milinkovic Savic and Akpa Pro. So it looks like Lazio is trying to get 2 players for every position to rotate. So I think we need Avice Immobile, and I think Cancellieri is a great signing. He can play in every position, but I think it's a huge gamble if he's going to be the Vice Immobile. I do think he's going to could be the replacement for, don't know, Pedro Zaccagni, especially if Raul Moro is going to go to Verona. But yeah, I do think we need a Vice Immobile, and I think that the Vice Immobile will play a lot this season for this reason, because Ciro Immobile cannot play every 2 days.
He can, but he might want to, and this is a part of the issue as well. He's the captain. He always wants to play, and that's something Sarri's going to have to manage as well. Is that he's going to have to be pretty firm with Ciro to say, no, you're resting. We have to use your energy here and use it there.
Yeah, but Sarri's not Inzaghi, right? I think with Inzaghi we had the problem. Remember, Acerbi was playing everywhere, every match, even if a friendly match. Acerbi wants to play, and with Inzaghi he was playing. We saw with Sarri this didn't happen. So I believe that Sarri is a different type of manager, and this won't happen. Obviously, it depends, right, Alistair? If I have, I don't know, Mertens, okay, then I can choose to don't pick Ciro Immobile. But if the other option is Cabral, then I understand why Ciro Immobile would play every single match, right?
Yeah, true. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. One other thing I wanted to ask you about, because there's been a little bit of talk about Luis Alberto again and Sevilla coming in for him and so on. We actually did a poll last week on Twitter asking people what they would actually accept for Alberto, because there was that report about Sevilla wanting to offer 12 million and Oliver Torres as a counterweight in that move. And when we did it, 71% of people said they would accept 25 to 30 million for Alberto, which is supposedly Lotito's asking price for him.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that? Because that's obviously a reasonable amount of money. It's not a crazy amount of money, but then I guess it could be invested in an Ilic or an Ilic plus Avice Immobile even, or depending on, how much of that is actually chosen to reinvest in the market. So how do you feel about this?
Well, the thing is, if Luis Alberto goes, Lazio will sign Ilic. The funny thing is, the only season where Lazio is open to sell Luis Alberto, he arrives on time, he show up at Oronzo the right day, he's all smiling and laughing, etc. I mean, I don't know what's going on. Last year, he didn't arrive in time, he looked grumpy, etc. This year, where he could go, he's all happy. Oh, he already knows he's been sold, even though Sevilla doesn't look like he's going to make another offer. Or he simply improved. You mature, and he's happy to be at Lazio. I really don't know. But yes, I don't think he's leaving, honestly. A couple of weeks ago, I was convinced he was leaving. Now I'm not sure. And so I don't think Ilic will come.
Is that enough then? Because talking about the rotation options, the two options in every position, when you're reading that out to me, I don't think having Akpa Pro as your backup Alberto is really good enough to be serious. And that's why I think the idea of Ilic coming in and keeping Alberto would be incredible, but it's probably asking a bit too much.
Yeah.
And it's quite a big investment on top of all the other investments that need to be made.
You know what? The relationship with Verona is so good that I wouldn't be surprised if, Api was sending on loan Floriani and Raul Moro. We could do something like we gave them on loan Floriani Mussolini, who's very good. I think he's going to be a good career, especially if we give him a chance. If we send them Raul Moro and Floriani Mussolini and we get in loan Ilic for this year, I think that could be something that could happen. And, maybe we do like Zaccagni. We get him on loan and then we buy out him the next year. That could be an option. Let's not forget that we get like 60 million euros, something like that, between Murici and Vavro. So we spent 9 for Marcos Antonio, if I'm not wrong. So we should have a little bit of money that we could spend on Ilic. So there's that chance. I would be surprised, honestly. I mean, the double loan would be a more reasonable deal, and that would make us really competitive, I think. That would be changing signing for Lazio. But, don't see it happening. I wouldn't be that confident, honestly.
Right. Anything else?
Well, we need 2 goalkeepers. Well, are you? I'm injured, but are you available?
Yeah, I could manage. I've got a pair of gloves sitting next door, so
Yeah,
could give it a go.
Scottish.
I am away next week though, so I might have to come to Alonso afterwards.
Not a surprise. You're always on holiday. I mean,
apparently, yeah. This is actually a holiday this time though.
yeah. It's
Well,
incredible.
you were apparently on holiday on Monday night instead of coming to Piazza del Popolo, so that's
Well, I have this little problem, right? Where is it?
uh, that just looks really comfortable. I don't know what you're complaining about.
I mean, with this weather in Italy, guys, if you're not in Italy, I'm melting. I was thinking to go back to England because it's so hot. You couldn't
Uh,
believe it. You
yeah,
know, Alistair burned a forest close to Rome because it was too hot. I mean, this is incredible.
I mean, yeah, I've amazingly avoided talking about how hot it is today until now, but let's just finish. I mean, it was like the apocalypse on Monday because the park went on fire and it was raining ash outside and there was smoke coming into my flat. It was about 40 degrees. Felt like the end of the world. So, everyone do your recycling. And
Yeah, yeah. They said they saw a Scottish guy in the forest before it burned out.
this campaign of lies and slanders just never going to end, is it?
Never, never.
You're going to get me in real trouble one day. I'm going to end up in Italian jail. In Rabibia.
They're very comfy, so don't worry. No, I was thinking. I think that's it, right? We talk about pretty much everything. I mean, Lazio did so many things this in the last 2 weeks that there's plenty of things to talk about. We have to mention probably the Milinkovic Savic Arsenal story because I've been contacted by a lot of Arsenal podcasts. So last week, or beginning of this week, rumors were that Arsenal made a bid for Milinkovic Savic, something like 15 million euros, which is we know is not enough. I'm not convinced Milinkovic Savic wants to go to Arsenal. No offense to all Arsenal fans, because if Milinkovic leaves, he's going to go to a team fighting for the Champions League. Arsenal is in Europe League, so I don't think that's the right team. But I don't know. Some transfer close in nearly 2 months, so there's a lot of time. But I don't think Arsenal will be the team where Milinkovic ends.
I'd be disappointed, to be honest, if it was. Realistically, Arsenal sit in about the same place in the Premier League that Lazio sit. I mean, literally last season, in case of finishing fifth, I think Lazio have every good as a chance as to get into the Champions League in Serie A as Arsenal do in the Premier League. Obviously, the money is very different, but yeah, I mean, at the same time, I think we're all on the same page where we feel that if Milinkovic Savic is going to go, we want him to go to the Premier League so that we get as much of that sweet Premier League cash as possible. But also, I think everyone has an attachment to Sergei now. Talking about popular players, I don't think there's many other than Ciro who can kind of compete with Sergei for the love of the fans. And I think everyone wants him to do well where he is next. And I'm sure he would do well at Arsenal, but part of me kind of wants a bit more for him.
I think Chelsea can be a better option. They're in the Champions League, they have the money. But Manchester United has been linked with Sergei at the beginning of the summer window. Again, they're in Europe League. They probably have the money to afford it. But
please don't go there.
I mean, City would have been an option, but they already spent a lot, so I don't think they have the money enough. So we have to see, because rumors are that his agent has been traveling all around Europe to get the right offer. But I think he wants a Champions League team. So it's going to be complicated. I would say that. It's not impossible. Obviously, we hope that he stays. But I think it's going to be complicated this summer, which leads us to the other problem. He has another year of contract. This will mean that next summer, probably Lazio will have to accept a lower offer if they don't renew the contract, right?
Yeah, also true. Unless, miraculously he ends up signing a new one, but I find that very unlikely. So yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because there was almost an acceptance at the end of the season that this was probably it, and the moment had probably come, in a way that there hasn't been quite in previous years. So it's just so complicated now in the transfer market the way it is. The money that's required to sign players of that caliber. is a lot, and the amount of money that clubs have isn't as much generally now, especially after COVID and a lot of the struggles that teams have had. So you can really count the number of teams capable of signing Sergei on your hands, to be honest. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yep, it's a long summer. Let's hope we sign a couple of goalkeepers as soon as possible, and then we see what happens with the Sergei or Luis Alberto. Again, I would prefer to sell Luis Alberto than Sergei, but at the moment it doesn't look like any of those two will leave Lazio. So we're gonna see, but we're gonna be back as soon as possible when Alistair finish holidays again. So
Again,
and maybe Romagnoli will be back. Will be with us. Who knows?
yeah, I'll see if I can get some transfer business done down in Puglia.
Okay.
Pull some strings.
Thank you very much, Alistair, for joining me. Thanks everybody for listening to the podcast. Remember, you can rate us and subscribe on iTunes, Spreaker, Spotify, Amazon. We are on YouTube, we are on Twitch. So rate us and follow us on wherever you listen to podcasts.
And rate us on Spotify, because it takes 2 seconds.
And this helps us massively to reach more people. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Forza Lazio.